Good morning and afternoon, you guys. I'm Cheri Fletcher, and I'm here today with Rob and Joanna Teigen, and we're just so glad that you have joined us wherever you're at. I happen to be in Bend, Oregon, and Rob and Joanna, where are you guys at?
We're in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Grand Rapids, Michigan. So this is awesome that we get to be so far apart and so close together at the same time. I had the fortune of meeting Rob and Joanna at a speakers conference when I sat at the table right next to them. And that has been a great experience because the friendship has continued. And they've been such a great friendship and mentors in my life with my ministry. And so having them on today is such a great ministry. And if you're watching this and the topic is something that could help and inspire others, go ahead and have a watch party, invite friends to join us, share in the conversation. You're welcome to ask any questions that as they come up. And you can also click on the link that tells StreamYard who you are so that we can see your name. So with right to today's topic. So Rob and Joanna, I'd love if you just share with the audience a little bit about who you are and what you're doing in life.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us, Cheri. So Joanna and I have been married 28 years. We have 5 amazing kids from ages 9 to 26. So our lives are always busy. We have a beautiful daughter-in-law as well. What else?
Right. 2 dogs, very important. 2 dogs, too many for Rob.
Yes, she likes to include the dogs.
Right, and we've been in West Michigan for about 11 years, and yeah, never a dull moment.
Yeah, but you guys are from out here in the Pacific Northwest, correct?
We are, yes. We still have family out your way who we miss dearly. We love our trips out there.
Yes, I can imagine. So today I asked the Teigens to join me because, like I mentioned, they have been a great help and resource. And I was able to speak at a men's event a year ago, and I spoke to the men about the importance of a father-daughter relationship. A father's role is both vital in sons and daughters, but I was speaking to these men as a daughter and as a mentor to young ladies. And so I was sharing stories and experiences that I had through those relationships. And so today I wanted to share a few ways that we build a strong relationship and some ideas on how we might be able to start to repair a relationship that's broken. And you guys have written several books and devotionals on the importance of fathers, not only to daughters, but to sons as well. And you guys also talk about marriage. And you have a great ministry called Growing Home Together. Can you share a little bit about that ministry?
Yeah, you want to start?
Sure. Well, about 8 years ago, we got the opportunity to write our first book together, 88 Great Daddy-Daughter Dates. And it was super fun. And we thought, wow, that was really wonderful. And then God's like, no, you're not done. And he gave us another project and then another project. And we couldn't believe how God just kept giving us a message and then a vehicle to share it, which is mainly that when we draw near to God, he helps us draw near to each other. And so about 2.5 years ago, Rob left his day job at a publishing company to begin writing full time. And we created the Growing Home Together website, and God still keeps putting projects in front of us just to share how good he is to us and our family lives.
Yeah, and we had a heart to just walk alongside families and encourage families to grow closer to each other and to God. And yeah, as Joanna said, God kept opening the doors and opportunities to do that. So.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful website, and it's so needed, especially in this day and age, to have a resource and a place where people can go. And so I've enjoyed your website, and it's a great ministry. So let's start with the foundation of a father-daughter relationship. You mentioned that a dad's love is his daughter's first taste of the love of God. And when he invests in that relationship with his daughter, he builds a joyful home and a voice of influence that lasts a lifetime. How are some ways, Rob, that you've invested in your daughters when they were younger that has influenced them today? And I would also love Joanna to chip in and share some of the observances that she's made about that father-daughter relationship with Rob and girls.
Sure. Yeah, we have 3 daughters, and when our oldest was born, I was traveling a lot for my job. And so I knew that I was going to have to work hard and be really intentional to build that relationship. And I grew up in a home with 4 boys. I was the youngest of 4, but we're all boys. So I was a little nervous. I knew that relationship was important, but I didn't know exactly how to do it. And so I just started when our Emma was young, taking her out on these one-on-one dates and just building quality time together. And I just saw, to my surprise, how important that was, how it built bridges and conversations and memories, and really opened her heart to me. So as I just kept doing that, as we kept having girls, I made a point. The 3 of us, or the 4 of us, did things together too, but I made a point of doing one-on-one with each of them. And with all the travel I did, it was just really beneficial to building a relationship with them.
Yeah, and then the reason that we moved to Michigan was to actually lighten Rob's travel schedule, because he didn't feel like he could make our home the priority that he wanted it to be if he had to be gone that much. But the habit of quality time never went away. It was amazing how what he built in when they were really little lasted. So
I love that. That's inspiring. It seems when they're little and you're going on these daddy-daughter dates, sometimes, the conversations are a little easier. I think from my own experience with kids growing up, a little bit easier when they're younger, because you don't have to really address some of the hard issues. But the topics and the conversations will get harder as our girls grow and their innocence is altered by what the reality is of going on. And as a father, what are some of the current conversations that you're having to have with your daughters?
Yeah, it's really, we're going through a lot of challenging times with COVID and with a lot that's happening in the area of justice. And we've raised daughters that have a real heart for justice. We have also have a 9-year-old biracial adopted son who's their brother. So it's really personal for them right now. So we're having a lot of conversations about what's going on in our country right now. And in fact, to the point where Saturday, my daughters really wanted to go on a march, and I went with them. And so, as I see with the dad-daughter relationship and being intentional in those younger years, that it's allowed me to speak into when we have these hard things and these hard conversations. But I do have to continually walk alongside. So even if we don't always see eye to eye and everything, we can work it out together, because there's that open communication. And so, that's one of the conversations that we've been walking through, and it's hard. Yeah.
It's really interesting to me that it's our 16-year-old daughter who has had probably the most negative interaction with people about her brother's race and his adoptive status. And she's been very disappointed in the lack of awareness, even in her peer group sometimes. And I'm just grateful that because Rob cultivated openness with her from the beginning, that she has Rob's voice in it. I'm a little tired today. We were actually up till about 1 a.m. last night with her. She told me, "Mom, it feels like the world is coming to an end." Those were her exact words. And I feel deeply grieved that is how she has to feel right now. But yet I'm very comforted that she's inviting Rob and myself close to pray with her and just be with her in it. And I know that if Rob had not been so present when they were small, that would not be the case right now. She'd be going outside of our house for all the answers and trying to find perspective by herself. So I'm just really thankful.
Yeah, I get the beautiful thing in developing that relationship is I get to grow as a person too. I love seeing my daughter's heart for justice, and of course, when we talked about going on the march on Saturday, as a dad, there was all the protective things. I knew that there were riots happening and different things too. And so I had to process through that as kind of wanting to protect them, but also respect this very important thing that they wanted to do. And so, but we were able to dialogue about it and come up with a plan that worked well. And we went and we bonded through it, but we grew. It was a very powerful experience. And so I think even though we maybe don't always see eye to eye, we're able to dialogue. And because they know that I have their best interest and I want to grow with them, we're willing to work through it together.
Yeah. And our oldest daughter is in a pretty serious dating relationship. And that's another piece of life that sometimes our girls can go silent in. And she is all about talking it through with Rob, which just blows my mind. Yeah. So we see whether it's current events or their personal romantic life or you name it, like Rob has been able to sustain a voice and a presence, and he's a sounding board. Like our daughter, she's going through what a lot of families are right now with being furloughed from her job. So navigating the finances and do I apply for unemployment and how does that work? And all of these growing up hard life questions, Rob gets to get in the mix with them.
Yeah, it's we don't always see eye to eye, but it's very rewarding when, your daughter calls you and says, I'm in this situation with my job. Can I walk through these different scenarios with you and see what's best? And there's a lot of hard work in the years that go through that and a lot of disagreeing. And but I don't feel the need necessarily anymore to have this strong opinion, because I know that they're listening to what I'm saying and they're taking it in and processing it. So it's rewarding in that sense.
I love that. One of the people that are watching, Lori Margot, says that she is agreeing with this, and it's a hard conversation, that her daughter is also feeling the same way. And she says it's a lot of long and emotionally exhausting conversations. And that's true.
Yeah. And I was just interacting with someone yesterday who is finding that as they try to process the police brutality in the news and their own response to it and how they're going to move forward in anti-racism, it's actually causing a lot of conflict in their home. Yeah. And so, like Rob said, our children are individuals. We might not always land on the nitty-gritty nuts and bolts of every situation, but he does honor our girls, and they honor us, and they stretch our thinking and we stretch theirs, and it can be really beautiful. It doesn't have to be divisive. It can actually grow our relationship.
Yeah. And, you don't think when you're taking them out when they're 5 and you're taking them out for ice cream or to the princess movie or to the dad-daughter date that you don't think years ahead when you're having conversations about racial divide and things like that, and what's happening in our world. But it does, there is a bridging that happens that's really great.
That is so powerful. So we're in a world of instant gratification and wanting to see instant results, but just a simple act of stopping and sitting down and listening and building that communication and that trust is so powerful, especially in times of this when it is, even as an adult, it's so confusing and overwhelming and disheartening. And it's so for a kid who doesn't understand all of it, not that we do either. It just
right.
It is just so overwhelming. And I'm so sorry, that you're having to go through this, but I'm so thankful that God placed your son in your life. And you are able to, who knows where he could have gone, where this would not have turned out as well. And so just to know he's with you guys is very exciting and heartwarming. And so, yes, building that foundation, deepening the relationship with your daughter, it is so helpful knowing that what she can expect from a man in courting and in marriage. That communication, that trust, because our fathers play such a huge role in who we date and who we marry. And one of the important things, too, is you guys have 2 sons. Well, yeah, you have 2 sons, one that's married. And so I would like to know from Joanna's perspective, how your daughter-in-law, watching the relationship between your son and your daughter-in-law, how was his relationship with her influenced by Rob's relationship with your girls?
Right. I see that so much. One of my favorite things about Rob is that instead of making his agenda as a dad to try to control his girls and shape them in his image, he really wanted to help them unfold who they naturally were as the young women that God created. And so we see so much individuality in our girls and passion in our girls for many things and creativity. And they're really just all of them, you know? And I look at the way that our son Josh loves his wife, and I'm telling you, he celebrates her gifts and he values her perspective on life. He knows that she really seeks God with all of her heart, and he just values her input so much, and he esteems her so highly that he's built just this amazing trust with her. And they're so effective as a team because they're both able to be 100% who God made them to be. And I know that from Rob cherishing me, cherishing our girls, drawing out their best, I see him loving his wife that way.
Yeah, that's important. I remember my husband kind of would tease my daughter a little bit about, it was true, but he would tease her about, you know, anyone that even wants to take her to ice cream is going to have to come, you know, to the front door, and he might go out the back without her seeing him. Yeah. She held that, you know, and a guy that asked her out in her high school days, she said, yeah, I can go out with you as soon as my dad meets you. And, you know, and if you're willing to stand at that front door, then you're willing, you know, to take me out. And it was,
oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I was hoping you could tell us more about your daughter, because it sounds like she is just blooming and using her gifts, and she has such confidence to just go after what is in front of her. And I know that she's that young woman because of the two of you.
Thank you. She's pretty amazing. She's a little spitfire. She is a fighter, and she is currently living the dream that she told me she was going to live when she was 12 years old, and that was in Nashville. She does have a day job, but it is affording her hobby and her passion and her hopefully soon ministry of music. Mm-hmm. So yeah, she's singing her heart out, and she suffered a traumatic brain injury when she was 5, and the journey of her, you know, education and being able to get through school with that and continuing on to her master's was pretty inspiring. And she's just, yeah, she's a spitfire, and she is a beautiful young lady. I'm very proud. And she does call her dad, even with work-related issues, and talks through things. Or if she wants to ask for a raise, she calls him and talks to him about that. And I'm just so glad. It's just comforting. You know, one of the things that I'm thinking of through this conversation is just even the verbiage and the way we talk to our kids about life. You know, as a parent, it's terrifying. Mm-hmm. It is so terrifying. And I tried to, I didn't always do it, but I tried to take in their questions and not let them see how much it shocked me or terrified me inside. But it's a lot of times the fear of what our kids could face or what they're talking to us about can come out in anger. Mm-hmm. And so many times the young girls that I had talked to, their dads were so scared about potential risk and hurt that they believed that using verbiage of fear, don't be like that girl, don't be like those girls, you know, using that verbiage would keep them from going somewhere. But what I found was that verbiage kept them from coming to him when it happened. And so I know we shared a little bit about what you're talking about in the current situation in our country now, but as our daughters have gotten older, your role as a father changes. And what are some of the lessons you've learned going through those transitions and being able to hear hard topics or hear hard discussions and be able to switch that role as daddy to father, where you're more coming alongside of them? What have some of those transitions been like for you as a dad?
Yeah, I think, one of the biggest things is listening. And as my girls transition, they just need somebody who will listen to them and take what they're going through and what they're struggling with seriously. And so I try to hold my opinion longer than I think I might or should, so that they feel comfortable getting everything out and expressing what they're going through. So I think that's been a big thing. And with growing home together, something that Joanna and I are really trying to focus on is that the home is someplace where we learn to love better. And so we often think the home is supposed to be someplace where perfection happens, but really it's a lot of times through those conflicts and those different opinions in our marriages or with that we learn how to love more like Jesus. And so listening has been a key for me in that process, to just hear my daughter's heart and walk with them through it and not feel like I necessarily have to have all the answers for them. I want to give them advice. But I want to love them well through it and encourage them through it and help them walk with them as they process through their filter. And sometimes in that process, I think that opens more doors of communication. And when I do speak my opinion, they take it to heart.
Yeah, I don't think anything slams the door faster between a dad and his daughter than anger does. And I would say with Rob, one of the qualities I'm most grateful for in him is that he lives by the scripture that he's slow to speak and slow to become angry. So you were just talking about being slow to speak. But I think because he's not reactive to the girls and he gives them the time and the space to just talk before he weighs in or before he gets frustrated, they feel very safe. So in that safety, like you say, by the time he finally does state his thought, they know that the motive is concern. He's not trying to run their show or make them feel like failures, or he never makes them feel small. So they can receive it from him. And even if in the moment they don't even act like they're receiving it, it's amazing how they come back around even a week later and they've really thought about what he said. So you've earned a lot of credibility because of that level of self-control and just kindness, really. Yeah, I can't really think of a time that you've raised your voice at the girls. I would never get over that because in my home there was a lot of anger and the volume could get pretty high sometimes and it could turn into a battle to win the conversation rather than understand. So Rob created a culture in our home that was so refreshing for me.
And I think too, putting yourself, as you say, Cheri, life is full of different phases. As our kids get older, I guess the consequences of their actions seem greater. So that can create a lot of anxiety and stress when you're facing those things with your kids. But I think putting ourselves in their shoes too. I have to remember, I can't put myself in their shoes exactly. I don't know what it's like to be a 16-year-old girl, but I can in the sense that I do know what growing up was like, and I know how hard it was. I know how a lot of times I had to process things through and learn things the hard way. And my maturity back when I was a teenager is not hopefully what it is now. And so I can give them a lot of grace in those times too, by putting myself in their shoes and understanding that the world is a hard place to live, and they're doing the best they can. So,
yeah, what I'm hearing is that you're able to hear and understand the underlying emotion behind what's going on, and that is just so huge, especially for girls who are a little bit more emotional thinkers, to be able to grasp the emotion that they're feeling identify it, even just doing that is just huge. And it makes you become such a place of safety and understanding. And I love hearing that. I love knowing that that's out there. And so I know that, my kids, they'll act disgusted if, my husband's flirting or being affectionate with me. They're grinning through the protest, but they'll comments that it's just gross and ew. And so I have a couple of questions here. How important is it for our daughters and our sons to see their fathers compliment and pursue their moms? And also, what could that look like maybe if a divorced father is watching this in areas that he could still give those same values passed on to his children?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's equally, we're talking about the father-daughter relationship and how important it is to be intentional and invest with our daughters. I don't think you can separate them. I think it's equally important for them to see you being intentional about your marriage relationship. They're going to catch and watch and learn and listen to a lot of those things, and they're going to internalize those things. So I would never say, date your daughter and have that quality time, but not the wife. You need to do both. They're equally as important. And for the single dad, each situation is different. But what I would say is, you're going to have to work even harder. And I would challenge a dad probably to speak respectfully of the mother, because that is part of the daughter. And she needs to see that. She needs to see that her dad can be respectful and loving even in that situation. And that'll say a lot to the daughter, and it will actually bridge and help their relationship in that situation. So I would say in every opportunity you get, try to encourage and build up your daughter's mother, even in that situation.
Yeah, I do feel like there's sort of almost a mysterious connection for me between my identity as a woman and the way that Rob loves our girls. If he's esteeming them as female, it's esteeming me, and vice versa. When he's prioritizing our girls, he's saying our family is the most important part of his life. And so I feel valued. I feel like as moms, sometimes we carry a pretty heavy load of the relational and emotional burden with our kids. And so when Rob gets really involved, it shares it, and it lightens my burden as a parent. So even building teamwork between us, I feel like it's very unifying for the two of us when he is all in as a dad.
Yeah. Oh, did you have something to say?
I was just going to say that I would just also add to that you are always a parent. So even if the relationship, if there's a divorce situation, that's a common ground that you can come together and work on. And I know even in those situations, the relationships are different, but you can come together on common ground that you want to build life into your children. So
absolutely, that's such a great point, because even if there's a strained relationship between the parent, you both love that child with the same intensity, then you can have that common ground, and that's a great concept. So while we were talking, I was just thinking, a lot of the girls that I work with, and I think this is common with most women, we really place a value in beauty. Every little girl wants to know they're beautiful. Every woman wants to know they're beautiful. But I would love to know how to talk to girls to focus on their character. Of course, we think our daughters are beautiful, but if that's all we're complimenting them on and their mom, it kind of focuses on, an external value that could change or have something happen to it. What are a couple things that they could say to their daughter or about their mom that really places the importance on character growth?
Yeah. In our 88 Great Daddy Daughter Dates, we have a page in there, I think, that says, 10 things your daughter needs to hear from you. And one of those is that she's beautiful. But the other 9 have to do more with the character things. And so it's important. And I think especially in our culture, and I've learned this when I think we published that book in 2012, and it's amazing how much things have changed even since then, as far as our culture puts so much emphasis on beauty. And there's so many other beautiful things about our daughters besides that. So I think, specifically focusing on skills and talents and other characteristics, inner qualities that they have, the strengths that they have, even perseverance in hard things, doing their best, even if they fail, getting back up again. Those, always having your eyes open for those kind of things are equally as important. And I say that's probably the ratio. Tell them they're beautiful, but equally tell them those other things.
Right. Yeah, the verse that where your money is, that's where your heart is. When I look at Rob's finances in relation to our daughters, you invest in very tangible ways into who they are as people. So if for 6 months all my daughter wants to do is ride horses, she's going to ride horses. It may pass. It did pass.
Yeah, we've had a lot of things pass, but
right.
Yeah.
But if there's that book they mentioned, Dad gets the book. If there's the art classes on Saturdays, Dad's going to drive her downtown and get her into art classes. And I feel like Rob always approached them as whole people who were more than just their appearance. And it's not like you've never bought them a sweater or lip gloss, but that's such a tiny part of the way that he builds their identity. So
yeah, and I think what you do with them, going back to kind of to that quality time, says a lot about them too. So my daughters love music, so that's something, a common ground that we have. So we do concerts, and this last Christmas I bought a couple of concert tickets to places, to artists they like, not necessarily people I would go see, but if they enjoy. And I think that says something about how, as a father, how we value them. So
yeah, I love that. As we're wrapping up, one area that I really want to touch on is maybe a father-daughter relationship that's broken, and are there ways that a father could try to reach out and start establishing a relationship that is either strained or broken?
Yeah. And, to be honest, I think no matter how early you started investing in your child, there's probably going to be seasons of your life where you may have disconnection. We've talked a little bit about those different seasons of life. And so the important thing is to keep engaging, and however that may look. So it might mean a text. It might saying, "I love you. How are you?" It might mean hard conversations of, "I'm sorry." But yeah, just always try to keep that conversation going and keep it open. And I think we go into relationships trying to fix the outcome too. So the minute the other person doesn't react the way we think they should, we're like, well, I tried, obviously they're not interested, and we move on, or we keep building those walls. And so I think not focusing on the response, but just focusing on being consistent and faithful, and using every opportunity, staying close, and using every opportunity you have to encourage and to let your daughter know that you desire to have a relationship with her, and that you enjoy her and want to be close to her.
Yeah, that is beautiful. So we have some exciting things. You guys are willing to give away one of your bundles in time for Father's Day, which is awesome. Tell us about the bundle, and if you have, I think you have one that you can show us, right?
Yeah,
we do. Yep. It includes this set of 88 conversation starters, which is so much fun. I mean, if you do want to take your daughter out for a coffee or ice cream, it gives you a little launching point to have a fun conversation. And then this is the first book that we created together, the 88 Great Daddy-Daughter Dates. It's got a really beautiful new cover now, too.
Yeah, we did update it. So if you think, oh man, that came out years ago, it's probably outdated. It's actually got a lot of fun ideas to do with your daughter, and it's been updated and expanded. So
right. So sometimes
is when I talked to the men's event, I used those. Yeah, it was great. It's a great resource.
Right. And then something that we're super passionate about in our ministry is prayer. We believe that prayer is really almost more effective than anything else that we do as parents. And like you were talking about restoration of relationship, I'm telling you, if a dad just prays for his daughter, just stand back and watch God do the unexpected. So we wrote this book together, Powerful Prayers for Your Daughter. And it's very targeted and specific to the day-by-day issues that our girls go through from the time they're small until they're grown. If you really want to get in there and pray the word over your daughter, pray about the actual things that she's experiencing and struggling through, it's just a tool to help you do that. So yeah, we've got these all together in a little collection for you. We'd be so excited to share it.
Awesome. So all you guys have to do is in the comments between now and June 8th, this is the year 2020, is do the hashtag father, and there will be a drawing on the 8th, and this is for the United States only, within the United States. So we know that you'll enjoy that bundle, and we'll be able to use that as a great Father's Day gift. So thank you guys so much for taking time out of your schedule to meet with me, and all the links to Rob and Joanna are on the comments, and then they'll be in the notes, and just thank you guys so much for coming on and giving hope and inspiration.
Oh,
thank you
for inviting us.